Hi there! Thank you for clicking on this video. I know carving out a few quiet minutes to watch something like this isn't always easy, so I really appreciate you being here. Just the other day I was standing in the middle of my living room holding an old sweater, and somehow I stood there for almost 15 minutes. Not because the sweater was sentimental or special, I just couldn't think anymore. My brain felt completely stuck. And it wasn't about the sweater. It wasn't even about decluttering. It was that feeling like I was drifting in a mess. In my home, in my head, in my life, and not really in control of any of it. If you've ever felt that way, like you know something needs to change, but you can't quite find the calm to begin, then maybe today we can untangle just one little corner of all that chaos. In this video, I'll share 7 shifts that helped me stop freezing up every time I tried to declutter. They're gentle, doable, and more than anything, they helped me keep going instead of giving up halfway. And the first one, it's just a tiny change in how you ask yourself a question, but it made everything feel a little clearer. Let's start with something simple, but it just might change the way you look at everything you own. Because sometimes you don't need more tips. You just need a better question. There are things you haven't touched in over a year, but the moment you try to let them go, you freeze. I know that pause. Well, your head says I never use this, but your heart whispers, but what if? The problem isn't the object. It's the question you're asking yourself. For the longest time, I kept forcing myself to answer, do I need this? And the answer was always vague. Maybe, someday, just in case. Then one day, I changed the question. If I saw this in a store today, would I buy it again at full price? That question. It brought clarity. It didn't leave room for maybes or guilt or future scenarios that may never happen. It was either a clear yes or an honest no. I once held on to a juicer I bought during my detox juice phase. In reality, I used it maybe 3 times. Every time I cleaned the kitchen, I hesitated. But when I asked would I buy this again today, the answer was obvious. No, it's bulky, it's hard to clean, and it no longer fits how I live right now. Changing that one question helped me break the cycle of guilt logic loops and emotional clutter. Because if something isn't worth buying again for the life you're living today, why are you still making space for it? Once you get in the habit of asking this way, you'll start to see which things truly belong in your home and which ones are just holding space. Tomorrow, I'll be sharing a gentle trick that helps you declutter without forcing tough decisions, especially when your energy's low. Don't miss it. And for the things you're still unsure about, the ones you can't quite say yes or no to, 2 is a way to handle those 2 without forcing yourself to decide right now. Sometimes the hardest part isn't deciding what to keep or toss, it's feeling like you have to decide right now. And when you're already tired or mentally foggy, that pressure alone can make you avoid decluttering altogether. So instead of forcing yourself into a yes or no, give yourself a maybe. Grab a box or a bag, label it, put the things you're unsure about inside, and more importantly, set a date to revisit it. 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever feels right for your pace. I've done this with kitchen gadgets, sweaters I wasn't wearing, even sentimental things like old notebooks. I'd tuck them in a bag, stick it in the closet, and mark a quiet Saturday on the calendar. More often than not, I'd forget what was even inside. And when the day came, letting go felt easy. Obvious even. The maybe box isn't a delay tactic. It's a way to declutter without burnout. It protects your energy, builds your confidence, and shows you that letting go doesn't have to feel like ripping off a bandage. And if you've ever felt wiped out from just looking at a pile of decisions, 3 will help you simplify all of that by doing it smarter, not harder. Have you ever walked into a messy room and just stood there, too overwhelmed to start? Too many small decisions piling up at once, and suddenly your brain just wants to shut the door and walk away. That's decision fatigue, and it's very real. One shift that helped me was this declutter by type 1 group one day. Not a whole room, not a major overhaul. Just 1 category: socks, pantry items, expired medicine. That's it. Last Thursday, I gave myself 20 minutes to tackle the random kitchen drawer. I didn't touch anything else, just that one drawer. And when it was done, I still had energy left. I wasn't drained. I didn't feel like I failed at anything. That's the beauty of batching. You conserve energy, stay focused, and build trust with yourself that you'll come back tomorrow. But even with that structure, sometimes letting go still feels like a loss. 4 will help you understand why and how to move through that feeling without guilt. You pick something up, a charger, an old jacket, a kitchen tool, and suddenly your brain whispers, "But what if I need this someday?" That sentence alone has made millions of homes feel stuck. Here's what helped me recognizing that this fear isn't logic, it's loss aversion. It's how our brain is wired. We're far more afraid of losing something than excited about gaining space. Once I learned that, I stopped blaming myself for hesitating. I started noticing how often I kept things just in case, and how rarely that case ever came. There was a lamp I moved between 3 houses. It never quite fit, but I held on to it because I'd paid full price. It sat in the garage for 2 years. And you know what? The day I gave it away, I felt relief. Not regret, not loss, just lightness. So instead of asking, "What if I need it?" ask, "What am I gaining by letting this go?" You're not just clearing space. You're gaining ease, clarity, freedom from that low-level stress of stuff always being in your way. Some things are hard to let go because we paid for them, but others are hard because we lived with them. That's what 5 is all about. Some things are hard to let go because they're tied to who we used to be. An old sketchbook, a baby blanket, a faded shirt from a trip we still think about. You're not holding on to a thing. You're holding on to a version of yourself, a chapter, a moment that meant something. Here's what helped me shift, say the memory out loud. Name it, acknowledge it, and ask yourself, is the object the only way I can honor that memory? I had a stack of notebooks from college pages filled with old dreams, notes, doodles. They lived in a box in the back of my closet for over a decade. One day I sat down and flipped through them. I laughed, teared up, took photos of a few pages, and then I let them go. Because the person I was, then I still carry her with me. I don't need 12 pounds of paper to prove she existed. You can keep the story without keeping the thing. And if it helps take a picture, write the memory down. Pass the item on to someone who'll use it. Memory doesn't need to live in storage. I'll sell it later. That sentence has kept so many boxes, bags, and shelves full, not because we used the stuff, but because we paid for it. It's totally understandable. You spent good money. Maybe it still feels valuable. But here's the truth, if you haven't listed it in the last 3 months, you probably won't. I say that with love and from experience. I once had a pile of clothes I planned to sell online. I even downloaded the app, took some photos, and then nothing. Weeks passed, then months. Every time I saw the pile, it made me feel bad, not just for the money, but for not following through. Eventually, I gave most of it away. And yes, I lost the potential cash, but I gained something I actually needed: more mental space. No more guilt, no more visual clutter reminding me of what I should be doing. If something's been awaiting to be sold for a long time, try this. Set a deadline. Give yourself 1 week. If it's not listed by then, donate it. Because letting go of a money mistake is hard, but living with daily shame is harder. Some items are even trickier, not because of money or memory, but because you built them, assembled them, spent real hours of your life with them. That kind of attachment feels different, and it deserves a different kind of decision. It's hard to let go of something you built, furniture you assembled, projects you spent hours on, even things you fixed, cleaned, or repurposed yourself. That's not clutter. That's you in physical form, your time, your effort, your energy. So it's no surprise we feel attached. It's called the IKEA effect, when something becomes more valuable to us simply because we put effort into it. But effort alone isn't a reason to keep it. Ask yourself, if I hadn't built this, would I still want it in my home? Does it still serve me, or am I just honoring the time I spent with it? I had a bookshelf I struggled to let go of. I remembered how long it took to put together, how I stayed up late, matching the screws to the wrong diagram. It wobbled, It didn't fit the space anymore. But it stayed for years because of how hard it was to build. When I finally let it go, I realized something important. Releasing it didn't erase the effort. It honored it. Because I wasn't keeping something out of guilt, I was making room for something I actually needed. It's okay to keep a few things simply because you love them. But if you're only keeping something because of how hard it was to get, that's not love. That's an obligation, and you don't owe your clutter anything. It's not always the clutter that's exhausting. It's the indecision, the overthinking, the picking something up, putting it down, then picking it back up again 5 minutes later. That loop, it drains you. Here's what helped me break it. Give yourself permission to decide faster, even if it's not perfect. You don't need to analyze every object like it's a life decision. You just need a soft filter keep toss maybe. Trust your gut. Trust what your body does if you sigh, if you tense up, if you hesitate for too long. That's your answer. I've noticed when I let myself move quickly, not rushed, just confidently, I feel lighter after. Even if I make a mistake 9 times out of 10, I don't even remember what it was. The longer you hover over something, the more weight it takes on. Sometimes clarity isn't about thinking harder, it's about thinking less. And in a life that already feels full of decisions, giving yourself permission to move through just one task quickly is a gift. It's hard enough to declutter your own things, but it's nearly impossible when half the clutter doesn't even belong to you. Your partner's boxes in the garage, your kids' toys that magically multiply, the stack of things your sister left behind just for now 2 years ago. And somehow you feel responsible for all of it. Let me tell you something I wish someone told me earlier. You are not the keeper of everyone's clutter. Yes, you can be kind. Yes, you can be patient. But you don't have to carry the emotional load of objects that aren't yours. Here's what I've learned to say. This isn't mine, but it's taking up space I need. Can you help me decide where it should go or when you'll pick it up? Or if that feels too direct, try this. I'm working on clearing things out this weekend. Do you want me to keep this for you? Or is it okay to let it go? You're not demanding. You're creating a boundary. And boundaries are what keep your home from becoming a storage unit for everyone else's indecision. Letting go starts with what's yours, but peace comes when you stop carrying what isn't. Some days I'd look around the room and feel tired before I'd even started. Not physically tired, just mentally foggy, like I couldn't breathe clearly in my own space. Turns out it wasn't just the mess. It was the invisible weight of stuff quietly asking for my attention. The clothes I hadn't folded yet, the unopened mail on the counter, the drawer that doesn't close right but I keep ignoring it. Even when we're not actively dealing with clutter, our brain is. Every time you see it walk past, it work around it. Your energy leaks a little. So if you've been feeling scattered heavy or like your focus is shot lately, it might not be you. It might be what's surrounding you. Every item you release isn't just clearing space. It's giving you back a bit of your brain, a bit of your bandwidth, a bit of your calm. And that more than anything is what this whole process is really about. Let me guess you've got a stash of empty boxes, mason jars, and mismatched bins somewhere in your house just in case you need to organize something later. Yeah, me too. At one point, I had a whole shelf in the garage dedicated to potential organizing solutions. It looked like a mini container store, if the container store had commitment issues. There were pasta jars I was definitely going to turn into spice storage. Tiny baskets I was probably going to use in a drawer I hadn't even cleaned yet. And don't get me started on the 10 plastic bins with no lids. Where do the lids go? Is there a bin lid? Bermuda Triangle? Here's the truth I had to face. I wasn't organizing. I was hoarding potential. I was collecting tools for a project I hadn't started. And the irony, all those organizing containers were becoming clutter themselves. Now I do this instead. I declutter first. Then I see what actually needs containing. 90% of the time I realize I don't even need extra bins, I just needed less stuff. I still keep one small tub labeled organizing extras. If I don't use something from it within 30 days of finishing a space out, it goes. No guilt, no hoarding for the apocalypse. Because you know what doesn't reduce chaos? Buying more bins for stuff you don't actually need. Let the bin go. The lid is never coming back anyway. You ever put off decluttering because you know once you start, it's going to turn into a 5-hour mess? Yeah. Same. I used to wait for the perfect weekend to do it all at once with music, coffee, full energy, which of course never happened. So the clutter just sat there, judging me. Then one day I was in the kitchen waiting for water to boil and I thought, you know what? Let me just clean out this one drawer. Just this one. 10 minutes later, the junk drawer was done. My water was boiling and plot twist, I felt amazing. Like I just won a tiny clutter-related Oscar. That's when I started setting a timer. 15 minutes. That's it. No pressure to finish. No declutter your entire life expectations. Just what can I tackle in the time it takes to scroll Instagram and question all my life choices? Turns out you can do a lot in 15 minutes. One shelf, a bathroom drawer. That random pile by the stairs that's been multiplying like rabbits. And the best part, once the timer goes off, you can stop. Or, you might want to keep going, but you don't have to. Because the real secret to getting unstuck isn't marathon sessions. It's tiny wins that make you feel like, hey, maybe I can do this. And honestly, I'd rather declutter for 15 minutes than sit in guilt for 6 hours. That was a lot, and maybe right now even choosing where to start feels like one more thing to figure out. That's okay. You don't have to use all 10 ideas. You don't even have to finish one drawer today. But maybe one of these shifts opened up a little space in your thinking. Maybe something clicked, or softened, or gave you permission to be gentler with yourself in this process. That's enough for now. And if this kind of content helps your brain feel lighter, not just your home, go ahead and subscribe or just save this for later when you're ready to try again. Because this isn't about being tidy. It's about building a space inside and out that feels like it can hold you, as you are, as you grow, and as you let go.